I know people who get more time for stealing bubble gum. I'm just completely disappointed in this complete process, actually.
Mr. Taylor, you may retake your seat if you wish to stay.
Okay, now, you're not supposed to record yourself in court. And you can see he just took a fucking selfie with... I'm really disappointed in this whole process. Oh, by the way, here I am in court, and Blueface is probably right behind him. So I'm sure he probably got his face and then Blueface right behind him.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my 24-karat gold sharks and our content genius, Michael Rivers. Today we're reacting to Blueface, and there's kind of some things going on with this that kind of will have a practical import in your life if you're facing any kind of criminal charges, which hopefully you're not. But before we get into Blueface, let's talk about eSign.com, because this is brought to you by eSign.com. It's a very effective way to remotely do business. Say you have a contract that you need to have signed because you just got done in court and you got probation when you really were charged with attempted murder. Well, you all of a sudden now you're a free man. You get new record deals, so you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month, and you can send out contracts to anybody you want. And you can get signature after signature after signature. You don't have to even leave the comfort of your own cell or home front, whatever. I use it all the time. eSign.com is a very easy and effective way to remotely do business. You can get agreements signed like that. Blueface now was charged in Las Vegas with a shooting, and he was originally charged with attempted murder. We kind of go into this on using a firearm and when you can use it and when you can't. You can't just willy-nilly shoot somebody or shoot at somebody or try to make a point. So we had this attempted murder case with Blueface, right? This happened last October 2022. He struck a deal, and the deal called for probation this last summer, and it said that it was a probation-only sentence. So it means he's got a 2 to 5 year prison sentence hanging over his head, suspended. That's what suspended means. As long as he doesn't do anything stupid while he's on probation or violate his probation, he'll never have to do that time. So this was a whole beef outside the club because this guy recognized Blueface in the club and said he was driving some kind of cheap vehicle or talking to his women, whatever. Just stupid. I mean, it's really a big bad decision over nothing. So he's going to get a felony on his fucking record over a slight. And that's how a lot of these things happen. So let's take a look at what happened in court. We'll react to what happened in court.
Good morning, Your Honor. So the court has properly reiterated the terms of the negotiation. I think since Mr. Ports went into some of the detail, I think it's important for the court to have some context and understand why this negotiation is the way it is.
So that's important because, you know, you can have an agreement with the other side, but if the judge doesn't accept the agreement, you know, because the judge has got to rubber stamp this shit. And so if the judge doesn't agree with your deal, the judge can toss the plea, and then you're headed to trial.
While it is certainly true that Mr. Traylor was involved in a fight with people at the strip club, Mr. Porter was not involved in that fight. And what happened later was Mr. Traylor went to his vehicle and then drove very slowly up to a group of people who he felt had aggrieved him.
That can be an anonymous thing when you are sliding up to your ops.
In the fight, and rolled down his window and displayed a firearm, causing other people to jump back, and then he sped into a group of people, ended up hitting a woman and hitting other cars, and then took off. And
then why didn't you go to trial? It sounds like a self-defense or defense of others.
That's at the moment when the conduct from our client occurs.
And sometimes what'll happen is, you know, I kind of like it better sometimes when they don't make an offer and it's just, you know, let's go to trial. There's no decision to make. But when they all of a sudden offer you probation and no jail, and they might even offer to reduce it to a misdemeanor, it's very difficult to not take a deal under those circumstances.
So while I'm not here to minimize it in any way, it's dangerous, there is no doubt, but there is a lot from Mr. Traylor that led up to this. And I think the court should also be aware Mr. Traylor is suing Mr. Porter, the nightclub. The nightclub is being sued by the woman who got hit by Mr. Traylor. I mean, there is a lot of moving parts here. But then Mr. Traylor met up with friends over at Town Center in a parking lot, didn't call the police. He was in his employer's work truck.
You know, I think she already put it into context. You got to be careful when you blame the victim in a sentencing hearing. You just, because you can go overboard, and if the judge isn't with you on that, you can get hammered. I had one case where I had a client, he was being attacked by this kid, you know, in his 20s, and my client was in his 50s, just a big oaf, and he was being attacked, and he runs away from his own trailer. This is in a trailer park, and he runs across the street. His dad starts fighting with him. His dad starts chasing him into the street. And, I mean, he's running away, and he pushes him, and a fucking car runs over him. Now, in that case, you know, I talked very little about the victim, but the judge blasted the victim. Where the victim is the aggressor, that is a big deal, and that is quite a mitigating factor.
And he must have realized the next day that he needed to explain why he got into an accident and hit these other cars in his employer's work truck, and only then did he decide to make a police report. And he did have some kind of a graze wound on his hand. Again, no one here to minimize that. I think the court needs to understand that there's a dynamic here. I think because of the civil litigation, Mr. Porter's probably going to opt not to address the court.
So when you are getting sentenced, you have the right of allocution. Allocution is where you basically express remorse, and, you know, and so in an effort to, I mean, he's already made an admission, but in an effort to minimize the damage that he might suffer on a civil side of things, because they can use anything he says in this court in the civil context, probably best for him not to say anything.
The negotiation is reasonable given the circumstances of this case. The other incident that Mr. Ports references has to do with taking a cell phone from a woman, and that is who was filming him, and the woman was actually punched by a female colleague of Mr. Porter's. But again, not trying to minimize.
And what that part is about, in June of this year, he was charged with a robbery case for taking that woman's phone. You know, which might have been overblown because it sounds like, you know, it was just a fan who was screwing with him and he was just trying to stop the harassment. And what they did is you pleaded this, we'll dismiss that case, and that's what they did in this case. They dismissed the robbery case.
In here to minimize, we came in here to say that
How many times did you hear her say, we're not going to minimize? Generally, when somebody says they're not doing something, they're probably doing it.
He does live in California and will be seeking interstate compact transfer.
That's just transferring your probation from one area to another.
We believe that an underlying sentence of 12 to 36 months is appropriate versus.
So basically what she's saying is suspend 12 to 36, and we know that the judge suspended 2 to 6.
The strip corridor ended at Sahara.
I did too, and that's why I was curious to see if there was a separate order related, because I think what the focus is if he's going to be interstate compacting, obviously,
right.
Limited issue there.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen a green robe. Robes, the judges, they wear the robes as a ceremonial thing because they're the only ones in court that wear a robe, and they're usually black. That's the first time I've ever seen a green robe.
I just don't think that the traditional order out region covers downtown.
But he's not otherwise seeking to not.
Basically, what she's saying is that, a restriction on where you can go.
Not have an order out or be employed in those areas or anything like that.
We're not opposing it. He doesn't live here, and it's fine, and that's fine.
Now, this is really boring, isn't it? I mean, this is just kind of a boring sentencing hearing. But think about it. the decision, and maybe the decision to fire that weapon at that particular time might have seemed like the right thing to do. But let's say he's at a club, and let's say he's been drinking. If you're drinking, guess what? You got a concealed carry. It invalidates your concealed carry. You can't drink and use your concealed carry at the same time. Secondly, put yourself in one of the things that's difficult for these guys is that they're celebrities, right? So they get recognized. I get recognized, but I'm not like this. And you wind up getting yourself into different situations because of your celebrity status. So even though this is a boring this is the government interfering with somebody's life by virtue of their conduct. You let the government into your life. Now you're on probation. Now they can tell you where to live, what to do, how to do it, whether you are working, whether you're going to travel or not. You got to get permission for that. Sometimes you have to remain sober and do UAs. And it's just to have a probation officer crawling up your fucking ass. Do you really want that? You know how you don't get that? You make good decisions.
Mr. Porter, is there anything that you would like to say on your own behalf today? I appreciate that you have the other matter pending, but it's up to you entirely. This is your opportunity to say something, but there's certainly no obligation. Okay. Mr. Porter's going to decline to...
So you don't have to make a statement, and the judges generally don't make much if somebody doesn't make a statement. Sometimes they want to hear remorse. I'm not hearing any remorse from you, Mr. Blueface. Generally speaking, if you don't make a statement, it's not that big a deal, but it does sometimes help if you do.
To speak on his own behalf today...
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I forgot. Ms. Wildeveld is reminding me. There's one thing in the PSI that's not accurate.
Okay.
In the criminal history, it shows that there's a restraining order. That was dismissed.
What page are we looking? 3 or 4?
What they're referring to is a pre-sentence investigation. So after a plea or a conviction, you generally meet with probation. They do a report for the judge that contains all your family history, just everything about you and about the offense. And so that's what she's talking about, just correcting an error there.
That restraining order was dismissed in August.
All right, it looks like it just had, when they found that the original expiration term, they were not aware that it had been dismissed.
Right,
I did not rely on that.
So one of the things that also happens, and we've gone over this a little bit before in other videos, is victim impact. So the victim has a right, there are victim rights laws that require, that the state give the victim a forum, a chance to speak their piece.
You met the true self of God.
Yes, ma'am.
Please state your full name, spelling your first and last name for the record.
Kentavious Trailer, Kentab as in boy, IUS, last name Trailer, TRAYLOR.
And Mr. Taylor, what is your testimony today for the court?
So first of all, I just want to start by saying thank you, Judge. I'm just completely disappointed in this complete process, actually. From the DA to his representation to him to everything. It's just all been a complete drop of the ball on my end.
What does he want? I mean, if he really did pull up with a gun, he fucking deserves everything he had coming. You don't do that. Especially not at a strip club where you're supposed to just celebrate, the scantily clad ladies.
Complete lost faith in the justice system. This crime has done nothing but take a toll on my life since the day it happened. I haven't been able to get work. Everything has gone down the drain. I just feel like this has not been done on my case. This hasn't been done on my behalf. I know people who get more time for stealing bubble gum, honestly. I know people who do more time for stealing TVs than they do for shooting somebody.
So one of the issues that the state probably wrestled with I'm sure, is the idea of self-defense. If he's rolling up with a gun, and he was in a fight earlier, so he's got a beef with somebody, and he shows up with a gun, there is an ostensible claim of self-defense. And if the state thinks that they're going to lose their case, they're going to negotiate, and that's what that reflects.
I'm just completely disappointed in all of this. Yeah, I hate the way my name was ridiculed in the social media before I could even find out about it. Like I said, just this complete process has been a complete drop of the ball. Yeah.
Social media ridiculing your name. How does that get out there? You're the one. First of all, you're the one fucking suing him, so you're putting yourself out there. Second of all, actually, you look pretty able-bodied to me. How do you lose work from something like this? I mean, it's not. You're not showing up in a fucking wheelchair. And and I don't mean to badmouth a victim here, but he's not a blameless victim.
That's all I got to say about it. It's a complete drop of the ball, and that's it. It is what it is.
And Mr. Traylor, I really appreciate you expressing the frustrations that you have, and I know that the outcome here today won't change that because what the negotiation is has a certain range of sentence and a certain
but
aspect to it.
even that, like I said, I feel like those terms and conditions. I know myself included, would have more than that for domestic violence, for this or that. He has this.
Of course you would. Okay, are you saying you should have gotten less on your domestic violence case? I mean, putting your hands on a woman, you should get a little harsher sentence. This is a situation where you got mano on mano, gun on gun, and the state could have lost their case. And so they didn't want to roll the dice at trial, so they made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Going over multiple states, multiple this, multiple that. You guys are arguing semantics on can he come here to make money, and so he doesn't deserve to be here. He doesn't deserve to be out and walking around. He doesn't deserve any of that, honestly. But because he has a little bit of money and a little bit of a name, you guys are gonna give him that, and that's okay. But just at the end of the day, like I said,
and you ain't got no money, you ain't got no name.
I just want to say my piece, and like I said, I'm completely disappointed in all of this.
Understood. Mr. Traylor, and I'm not trying to convince you anything otherwise, and I'm not having a dialogue with you here. I'm just trying to give you the wrap up here that we are going to conclude this case. It sounds like you have another process pending. So
but that has nothing to do with how I feel about this in general.
Again, not a dialogue. I'm just sharing some information with you.
So the judge is basically saying, shut the fuck up. It's not a dialogue here. I am the judge, and I'm speaking.
Okay? I understand that. I'm not trying to convince you of anything different. I'm trying to tell you that we're going to complete this process here today. To the extent that it closes out this process, good or bad, obviously bad from your perspective, it will close it out. And I hope that you'll use the other process to find whatever relief it is that you are seeking, it not meaning whatever I presuppose any outcome there, but just that there is another avenue. And the court is going to act within the parameters of what it has here and bring this matter to a close. But I can assure you, I'm not giving anybody any breaks because of any status they have or money they have. I'm working within a system and within a negotiation, and I trust my counsel to make negotiations for reasons, and I appreciate that that's not going to sit well with you. I just thank you for your time here today and letting us know how you feel about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's important.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Traylor. You may retake your seat if you wish to stay.
Okay, now, you're not supposed to record yourself in court. And you can see he just took a fucking selfie with. I'm really disappointed in this whole process, and oh, by the way, here I am in court, and Blueface is probably right behind him. So I'm sure he probably got his face and then Blueface right behind him. I'm sure that's what that was, and that probably wound up on social media. So you talk about Mr. I'm disappointed in the process. I'm here to fuck the process up. Yeah, see. Blueface is right behind him, so he takes a selfie. I guarantee he did that on purpose. You can be found in contempt of court for that, and which is a separate crime. And if it happens right in front of the judge can give you 30 days without a jury, without a trial or anything.
The court will proceed with the sentencing of Mr. Porter, and as per negotiations, we will go ahead. I'm going to give an opportunity of probation.
And there's generally signs outside the courthouse that says no cameras and no recording devices allowed.
To Mr. Porter, same discussion with you, Mr. Porter, that I had with another gentleman this morning. You are here and doing probation here unless and until you are affirmatively approved, meaning given actual permission by the criminal probation department to travel out of state, whether it be a travel pass initially or your interstate compact, but you have to be here doing your probation. And I'm going to go through the...
So he can't leave the state of Nevada without permission until his probation is transferred.
But the main point that I have for you here is the weapons, is the guns.
So that's the other thing. He can't own a weapon. He can't own a firearm. He can't own a dangerous weapon.
You know you cannot have guns. There's no confusion on that point. And if you choose to roll guns, then that's your choice. But I will tell you, if you get caught doing that, you get brought back here on any kind of probation violation, especially anything involving weapon, I will not hesitate to put you in prison for a significant period of time. You are playing with your liberty, your life, obviously, but you're playing.
Well, in addition to whatever, so he's got this time hanging over his head, right? And if he rolls, as she said, with a gun, and he gets busted with a firearm, two things happen. One, he gets charged with a new crime, and generally speaking, federally or otherwise, most states have a 5-year mandatory minimum for felon in possession of a firearm. Secondly, then he's also looking at, the time that's hanging over his head, the 2 to 6 years. So he could really wind up screwing himself if he decides to not straighten up and fly right without firearms.
With your liberty if you're going to have guns and do anything that's going to violate your probation in that regard. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want there to be any confusion. I hear people who say things about, I didn't realize I couldn't, do this or that or have pictures with them or whatever. No, 0 guns around you where you are of any kind. And that needs to be quite clear. His underlying sentence will be a minimum of 24, maximum of 60 months in Nevada Department of Corrections, suspended with probation not to exceed 36 months. He will have to be.
You're not supposed to talk that fast as a judge because the court reporter's fingers start smoking as she's trying to keep up with the judge. Just so a word to the wise, nothing good happens after midnight. You're rolling with a firearm. If you're rolling with and if you have a concealed carry, it's invalidated by alcohol. Remember that. And you know what? If you're partying at home and you're just chilling, probably not going to be in this situation. Walk away from a fray. That's actually a good phrase. Walk away from an affray, because you can always live to fight another day. And sometimes you have to take your matters into your own hands in the sense if you're being attacked. And he's getting off fairly lightly. I mean, although when you think about it, a felony in your record, probation, that's still punishment. You're still letting the government control a good chunk of your life. Blueface, if you're out there, probably a good idea not to post any more naked pictures of your children. that just is sort of a self-snitching kind of deal, and nothing good can come from that. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you sign up for Patreon, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.